Bogaraju. I'm a data science intern at Spark Foundation. So the task which I had taken in my data science internship is doing an EDS analysis on terrorism based data set. So let's go to the Jupyter notebook to get what all insights I have got from my data set. So these are the most primarily 7 steps of a data set which I need to do in the EDA, but these depend upon the data set which have been given. First, I have imported all the important libraries from the dataset which were important for me. Then the second I imported the dataset from the Google Drive which was given in the a CSV file. The difference was the encoding. Mainly the encoding, general encoding is of the UTF-8, but the encoding of this dataset was ISO 8859-1. So df.8 showed me the first 5 records of the dataset. Then I went on to look for the shape of the dataset. It gave me the idea about the number of rows and the columns in the dataset. Then another thing I wanted to see was the number of columns. As there were 135 columns, I needed to understand the importance of each and every column and understand what each and every column provides. Like the country underscore text gives the country where the attack of the terrorism had happened. All these things were defined. All these things I wanted to understand, because when there were 135 columns, our main role is to reduce the size of the columns as well, so that it becomes easy for the ML engineers to code a model. The first step of any EDA analysis is to find the missing values. So I had written a small Python code through which I got all the missing values, percentage of missing values present in the columns. So very surprisingly, I saw that more than close to 40% or 50% of columns had 90% of above 60% of columns had approximately 90% of values missing. So that was close, that 90 to 80% of column missing. So a lot of data was missing. So my duty was to look for why these null values were missing and looking for what all columns could I drop, because as there were 135 columns, I needed to reduce my data set, because that would make it very precise in showing to my stakeholders and showing the view which I wanted to show. It could be help in the data model. So I went through each and every column and its relationship with a dependent variable, which is the success. Success is not a dependent here, but the outcome type you could define that if it was a success or not. Basically the terrorism data was successful or not. The outcome is not, it basically categorizes the things. So it's a category basically. So I went through each and every column based on the number of values and the importance of that column, and I had understood it and find all these columns not important, as well as lot of null values were missing. So I included that columns as well, through which I dropped these many number of columns. I understood each and every importance of a column, and mainly I wanted to keep the data set clean. Really you can see that when you're looking for terrorism data set, the main things are clearly mentioned, like the date, year, month, country, region, latitude and longitude where it had happened, summary of the attack, success of the attack, suicide attempts, attack type, everything else columns have been mentioned, because these are the main columns which I need to understand, which are very important to show to my stakeholders. So these were quite an important thing. So these columns remain as it is. The second role in a the second role in an EDA analysis is to handle numerical values. Numerical values are always present in abundance. So that was very important for me to handle these numerical values. So I've written a small Python code to get all the numerical values present in the data set. Second, I drawed a histogram for all the numerical values to understand what is their what is their values, number of values present, and what is their trend growth. So as you can see from the histogram itself, that by the year, as the year is increasing, the terrorism data is also increasing. So that means it's a very this could be a very important information which I could show to my stakeholders. Similarly, the date, month, as you can see, in the month of July, most of the attacks are happening, and 11th and 12th includes December and November. So these are another months where attacks are mostly happening. So this could be very insightful for my stakeholders to understand that these months everyone needs to be quite careful. That's how everyone needs to be quite careful. That is quite an important aspect of this data set. The second thing which I need to show you, that when I was going through each and every numerical value, then I had found some flaws in the values as well. Like in the month and the day, I saw that there was 0 given. But generally, we always take months starting from 1 and 12. So I decided to correct these months, as the main rule for this is to talk with the domain expert and then try to correct it. But I decided to put an arbitrary value in place of it, which was 11, so that it keeps my data authentic. So I selected some of the columns which can be categorized into the category type, because when you categorize some variables as numerical categories, it helps to give a clear understanding towards your data. So that is how this is the process which I had done. Now the main role as a data scientist, data analyst for me, was to get the insight from the data and show you in the graphical form what all insights I have got. So first insight, using the count plot, I had shown you that I had drawn a year graph. Basically, I had shown from year to year 1970 to 2070 the increase in the terrorism. Here the success 0 and 1 defines what is the here success 0 and 1 mainly defines what was the success terrorism successful or not. Basically, it was defined in that way. Second is attacks happening in the second thing as shown in the numerical form, that attacks happened in 1971. You could see it was 471 only, but in 2017 the attacks have been increased to 10,000. So that was quite an drastical increase in the attacks. So through the percentage form has also shown that how much percentage increase the attacks have been done, that is close to 95.6. Then second thing, as you have now understood the number of year-wise increase in the terrorism attack, now my main goal was to go through understand the number of successful and unsuccessful attacks. So this gave me a count of number of successful as well as unsuccessful attacks, which was quite an important thing for me. So this gave me a lot of insight about how many number of successful attacks were given and number of successful attacks. So you could clearly see the successful attacks were close to 16,000 and unsuccessful attacks were close to 20,000 close. So you can 1,61,000. There it was close to 20,000. So you could see that successful attacks were close to 87% more than unsuccessful attacks, which is quite deadly and which could be quite an important thing for my stakeholders. The second thing was getting a country-wise attack. So now we are country-wise attack, because as a stakeholder I need to show my stakeholder what country-wise the attacks have been growing. So through my cross tab I showed this to my stakeholders. Similarly, I showed another table shows that weapon-wise attack, which weapon was mainly used for attacking which type. So that was quite an important thing for me. The second thing is region, and third thing and another thing which I wanted to show was, I have shown in the earlier table that number of attacks, how many are happening. That was quite a number of attacks happening in a country, and what type of weapon was used. What type of weapons were mainly used for the attack in biological, chemical, exclusive. But I wanted to show my stakeholders one more thing, that which weapon is mainly used in which country. That is another quite an important thing as well, which is biological, chemical, explosive, fake bombers, etc. In Afghanistan, you could clearly see, I can show to my stakeholders that mainly the explosives were used, which is quite an important factor which I could do to my security councils, that they need to stop. They need to eradicate the areas from where the explosives they can bring. So that was quite an important thing. Then I draw a graph, basically a map, through which I can help my stakeholders to, if they point a cursor on any type of country, they will get the number of attacks which have been done. So that is quite an useful thing for them to analyze the number of attacks given in there. And it is a type of a heat map, because it gives the number of attacks given, because more the more attacks, if it is crossed 20,000, then look, it's more a yellow color. So you could see that Iraq has got the highest of attacks. So that is quite a insightful things which I have got, which I have created for my stakeholders, which would create them to understand the data set in more easier way. Then as you could see, you can make it smaller and bigger. Now the thing is, this is an ED analysis. So mostly I've done annually, but the thing is that we can do it when automated as well by using detail library. So this you can create or dashboards, and as you could see, I would show you, open in the new tab. You could see that you can clearly make charts. You can clearly make charts, convert it, get the correlations, create different types of charts, find the missing values, and there, look, this is a correlation. You could clearly see the missing values present in the column. You could summarize the data as well clearly. These are missing analysis you can do, that how many are done. You could do charts, etc., time series analysis, highlight missing values. Look, you could check like this. Then highlight the ranges. You could check the range as well of this data. You could look for the outliers in the data, duplicates as well. Lot of things you can do through this. So this is basically the dashboard, but my main was shown through that, because automated EDA is a supporting tool. As a student, you need, as a data analyst, you should mainly work on the manual EDA. That always gives you a lot more insights than the automated EDA, because automated EDA has restrictions. It always supports you, but the main thing is to be doing a manual EDA, which is always preferred, through which I've got a lot of insights in the data set. So I'm thanks Spark Foundation for giving me that opportunity to do an internship of under them and learn more about the data science. I look forward to doing lot more projects under them. Thank you so much.